Live today again on our second BIMly, which is our weekly BIM Q&A, where I get to answer some of your questions and then also invite some of the industry experts who can join on these calls and share their worth of knowledge. So today is 25th of January and we are going live now. And I see a couple people joining in the audience. We will wait for a couple more minutes for more people to join. But meanwhile, whoever's joined on the call now, the way that we would be doing this is you can simply raise your hand and ask a question. The question needs to be somewhat related to BIM because that's what the topic of discussion would be related to BIM only. But again, if you guys have any general discussion or ideas that you want to share, you can also raise your hand and I would love to join you on the stage and have a good discussion. Now, we want to keep this short and sweet for like 30 minutes. So we have next 30 minutes that I'll be answering any of your questions. And as we go on, people will continue to join. So thank you again for joining, whoever joined on the calls so far. Thank you for joining. The initiative is under Beyond BIM, which is a community that I've started, which is powered by my own company, Arcline. And the idea behind this is that we can start coming together as BIM folks and share our knowledge with each other as well as our experiences, what we're going through within the industry, what the changes are happening or trends that are happening in AEC industry across the globe, and build this stronger community where we all can join forces together and make BIM cool again. You know, I feel like BIM is sometimes get left out because we are like a support services and not mainstream, and sometimes that also backfires on us that we don't get that much acknowledgement. So we want to start building this community where we get to hang out with each other more and listen and kind of share question and answers. So I have 8 people right now. If any of you guys have any question, feel free to raise your hand, or even just a comment or you want to do some discussion, feel free to raise your hand and then I can invite you guys on the stage to speak and then we can have a discussion on it. So if anybody have any questions, feel free to raise your hand. Okay, I got Piyush. Let me allow you to jump on the stage, Piyush. Yeah, Piyush, if you can unmute yourself and then you can ask your questions.
All right. Hi, sir.
Hi.
I'm audible right now?
Yes, you are.
Yes. So I've been working from the last 2 years in BIM. So my questions, I want to discuss to you. What's your point of view regarding, scan to BIM works? Like I'm seeing working in outsourcing company right now. So I'm thinking like in coming years, the scan to BIM work will get limited, and people are getting into new construction more rather than as-built ones. So what's your take and what's your think about that?
Scan to BIM. So I feel like it's not going to be decreased over the time. Scan to BIM process seems like to be increasing over the time because as-built requirements are getting more and more important now. We're seeing this trend happening. Like I'll talk myself with my experience in US companies and whatever I've seen from last couple years. So scan to BIM process, it's basically started, I would say very, not recently, but from long time it's been going on. But now the scanner has improved quite a bit. So the technology is picking the pace now at a greater rate. And we will be seeing it more and more because of the digital twin technology coming in. And if you know that how facility management will be using this data to run in future. So the scan to BIM, I feel like will increase quite more. But also another side of that could be that for outsourcing companies, even like for myself as well, I'm also an outsourcing company. But these scan datas will get more intelligent over the time where we won't be sitting and doing conversion of those point cloud into a 3D model. but automatically it will get converted with the use of softwares and AI in future. So yes, our work might get removed or limited because of that, but the evolution of this technology won't stop. I think it will keep on growing in more sense because of, again, like I said, digital twin and facility management coming in the play. Have I answered your question, Pius?
Yes, totally. Yeah, I have one more question. Can I
Yes.
ask?
Yeah. Please go ahead.
So, see, I'm working right now in our architecture and structure department. So, what I've seen that, architecture and structure are very limited to BIM. Like, mostly BIM is into, MEP and plumbing and all everything. So, is I'm thinking the right way, or because being a civil engineer guy, we always limit ourselves. Like, okay, fine, I will do architecture and structure. But when I see a longer picture of BIM, I see that BIM is MEP who is working in MEP, they are doing more, using more BIM rather than being architecture and structure, right? So is it a right way, or there is something beyond what I'm thinking?
So again, I think the idea of the BIM came from clash detection and coordination. That's right, right? When at the early stage, why BIM was created was because of this reason that people wanted to do a proper clash detection of the building before the construction start. And the clash detection only happens in the after designs trades, which are the MEP system, right? Because structure and architecture does not change as frequently as MEP would, because MEP are after design, like these are designed by the sub trades depending on what materials and what routing they're going with. So yes, BIM was initially created, I feel like, because of those trade and resolving these clashes. But now I feel like it has widened enough that it's not limited to only MEP. Like, I'll give example of my own firm. In our client, we are very heavy on structure modeling, on concrete modeling. Like, I would say most of our work, I would say 80% of our work comes from structure modeling itself. And we have seen a lot of benefit of using BIM in structure. Like, even the clients that we're serving have seen a lot of benefit. And what we provide within that service is we create a concrete model for them and then provide a full layout data, which now they are using those data in the field to actually do the layout, which has reduced their work quite more. And I feel like same thing for architecture as well, because in architecture now people are demanding more higher complex structure, which were not possible earlier, but with evolution of technology now, like software like Rhinos, Grasshopper, you have this what do you call, the parametrics coming in place. So now the architecture are using it heavily as well. I'll give you an example. Like recently I was in Dubai, and I met with one of the youngest architect over there, and he's completely designing all his building in Rhinos and Grasshopper. So he's using BIM to an extensive level where he's using all his design based on BIM itself. So it's not true that BIM is heavily focused on MEP. Yes, definitely it takes more advantage because of the clash detection and coordination process. But I feel like now we have reached to the point where even other trades are utilizing BIM in many different ways.
All right, yes, that's a good answer.
Perfect.
I only know the Revit process, but I went on hand-on experience on trying on Grasshopper. But I will definitely see that software, so I would create my bigger version.
Definitely.
Think more about the BIM.
Sounds
Thank
good.
you, sir.
Thank you, Piyush.
Thank you,
I'm
sir.
going to move you down. Anybody else from the audience? We got a couple people more jumped in that have questions. Feel free to raise your hand, and I would love to invite. So let me allow you to speak. Pradhanya, am I saying it right, Pradhanya?
Yes, you're saying it correctly.
Perfect.
Thank you.
So yeah,
Yeah, I
Pradhanya, go
have
ahead.
a question. Like, I have experience in architecture for over 10 years. I'm currently in the UK and I've done a master's in advanced construction technologies and building information management. The reason I studied in the UK was because the BIM implementation has been mandated by the government here for construction projects, like the government construction projects. architects.
Yes.
I was just wondering, like, for somebody, I'm experienced with Revit. However, when it comes to giving interviews and all, what kind of knowledge should somebody who's newly entering BIM should know about it, other than the ISO standards of 19650? Other than that,
So your question is that if somebody who's already in AEC industry, but you want to get into BIM side of it, right?
yes,
And what you should be prepared for an interview or to go for a job. Okay, perfect.
exactly, exactly.
Yeah, so I think BIM again is not just a software, right? Like a lot of time we get confused BIM with Revit, that Revit is BIM or it's any one tool. BIM is more kind of a process now, right? So building information modeling itself suggests that you are actually doing a construction within your computer and putting all those information inside the building, right? So you have to have the knowledge, the basic knowledge of construction at first, right? So if you studied architecture, you should have a full knowledge of how an architect design a building and what codes they should be using, right? So we're not just a BIM person, but at the core we are engineer, we are architect. You know, we happen to use BIM to our advantage to make life easier in terms of providing all this data to the field in an easier manner, right? So I tell everybody that BIM is just a process that we have created, but in the background, you are actually an architect, you're an engineer. So your core needs to be very strong in that sense, right? And then your software knowledge definitely aids up. So within BIM, there are different software that you can get into or different sites you can get into. For example, Navisworks is great for coordination and clash detection. So if you possess knowledge for that, that create within itself create a new route for you that you could be a BIM coordinator. You can also possess a knowledge about 4D scheduling, like learn a software, something called Synchro, or likewise software which can do 4D sequencing that can help you to be a better scheduler, you know, so you have that knowledge of scheduling. So there are different variety of software you can get into it, but I feel like your core knowledge of your degree or whatever profession you have chosen, engineering or architect, is the must and most important to get into this side.
Oh yeah, I was just wondering, like, so the reason I this in like I have experience like for a decade in architecture, but like in India, I have not used BIM as much or at all, to be honest. Like Indian companies have not adopted BIM to that extent, especially for the buildings in India. But like I am trying to break into a job where BIM is used extensively, and the reason instead of doing architecture masters, I've done this because qualifying in a different country for an architecture is a very long and expensive
Yes.
process. That's the reason I'm interested in BIM, and the whole idea of digital twin and something that fascinated me, especially for infrastructure projects.
Yeah.
So I'm just as a I wanted to know from a recruiter point of view, what would they be looking for? Like, would I have a chance, considering with my experience as an architect and my knowledge about BIM, would it be helpful, or like I don't know. I'm a bit worried about this.
Yeah, I think again, like I said, like you need to have obviously you have good experience in architect, but if you want to get into BIM, then yes, these softwares are important, right? Like Revit, as you mentioned, you need to have at least certain experience in Revit. You should have a working knowledge about how to use it. And then within your field, like if you want to be an architect and use BIM, then there are different tools that you can get into. Like I mentioned earlier, Rhino, Grasshopper, other such software that can aid in your architectural side would definitely be helpful. Most of the time, so this job you're applying in UK or in India?
In UK, in the
In
UK.
UK, okay, in UK. So definitely the codes are important over there, right? So because government has made it mandate, as you mentioned. So you need to have a knowledge about the BIM standards of UK, that what codes they're using, what standards they're adopting. So that is definitely required. And then your software knowledge is also an additional, that you have to have these software if you want to go in BIM, because otherwise there won't be any use, you know, like that BIM is deriving based on these different multiple software that you're getting into it.
Right, right,
So
right, right.
that's an important. But if you have an architect background and you have experience, I'm pretty sure like most of the company want that. Even like I myself, like I'm running a company, and if somebody comes to me, I would want their more of their core experience and less of their software experience. Like software can be taught, right? But your core knowledge, your architectural background is very tough to teach. You know, the experience counts more there.
Yes, because I now I have like so well versed with different softwares. Like because every few years something new comes up. Like earlier I had learned ArchiCAD, but then Revit got more popular. Then I know a bit like bit of Rhino and all of these Adobe suites. So I have like I've used all of these softwares kind
Definitely.
of, but I've not done like a capstone project that you can dedicatedly demonstrate that
Yes.
I've done this. That's the problem.
And I think another important point here for anybody who's applying for the job also is your portfolio. Like what work you have did in past is also very important for companies. They also look into like what specific industry you're working in and what size of project you have worked till yet. That is also important. If not in BIM, then it's okay, but at least you have worked on certain other projects within AEC industry that counts as well. So you need to have your portfolio as well, that I worked on these many number of projects and that's the size of the project. So I feel like that's another ad that you could add on to your resume or your interview.
Okay, great. Thank you so much.
Perfect.
I really appreciate it.
Thank you for asking the question. Thank you. I'm going to move you down to the moving listening. Anybody else in the audience? We have a great audience coming in now. Any questions or even comment or suggestion, feel free to raise your hand and jump on the call. I would love to get you on stage and then have a discussion. I think we had a couple good questions coming in. That was very helpful. So if anybody in the audience, feel free to raise hand. Meanwhile, people jump on and think about the question. I would touch base back onto what earlier caller have asked about, is like getting into the interviews and how to crack an interview, especially overseas. Like within India, there is different versus like overseas, it's a little bit different. I feel like overseas, again, like mentioned, people really look for your knowledge within that country itself. Like you might have experience in other countries, like you might have experience in India for last 10 years, but they also look for what you did over within that own country, because construction standard changes from country to country. So company looks for that. Like in my experience, when I was in US and applying for job, companies were asking for like relevant experience, like what I have did within US itself. And if you haven't have any experience yet or you want to get into it, the best way to go is you can start doing some volunteering work for some firm. Most of the firm in US allows like internships or being as volunteer, and you can go and get some field experience or field knowledge. I think that will help you a lot. A 6 month or a year experience in US would be great help to you. Then you have like 5 or 10 year experience in India and applying a job in US. So always make sure to have an experience within that own country that you're applying job for. So that's another important tip I feel like throwing out. Anybody else in the audience, feel free to raise your hand and I would love to invite you on the stage. Any questions or even general comments, would be interested to talk about, would be something great. Meanwhile, people thinking again on the question, another question I had from last week that people asked me, and I have another DMs that people asked me about, is like how to start your own BIM consultancy. This was another question that has been asked frequently, that how do you start as a BIM professional, how do you start your own BIM consultancy? To that, I think my answer would be that you can try out freelancing first. There are a lot of good apps, like Upwork is the big one that provide like work for you guys to do a freelancing work. So I think you can test out the water of getting into BIM consultancy by first being as a freelancer, and then see how you can start tracking clients and how can you start getting work and then provide your services. Being as a consultancy business now, I feel like it's a red ocean. I'm also feeling the same way, that there are so many competition already there. But again, the amount of the work that we're getting is again huge. So it balances it out. So even if you're starting now and you see a lot of competitions coming, that's still fine, because if you can find your niche, let's say if you are very good at MEP or mechanical, and then you know that your target audience could be mechanical contractor, then you can start targeting those and find client from there. So again, it's the way to get into it is first try out as a freelancer and see if you really like this way. If not, then you can go back on into a job. And if you feel like okay, you can start growing it, then you can start building your team and start continuing on it. Okay, we have a question coming in. Let me allow you. Jyotik Shikha. Sorry, I don't know how you would pronounce your name.
Hello.
Hello.
Yeah, hi. It's me, Jyotisika.
Jyotisika,
So,
okay.
like, I started my career as a BIM architect recently. It's been 1 year. But I want to know, like, how do I excel in my career? Like, if I see my career path, like, if I want to be in a position of a BIM manager, yeah, project manager. So, do you think, do you need any extra, like, masters, yeah, certification courses in management that will help me excel in my career growth?
So you just started, you said it's been an year for you as a BIM architect?
Yeah, yes.
Okay. And where are you based on? Of
Currently New Delhi.
New Delhi, okay, perfect.
Yeah.
So I think to excel in career and within in BIM industry, I don't think you need a master's. Master is useful if you want to start getting more knowledge, or if you really inclined toward academic. I don't feel that it's required. Bachelor degree is enough to get into this field, and your field experience will be more important. When I say field, I feel I mean like your technical experience, like your on-job experience is more important than your degree. So your growth will depend on how many years you spend and how many different projects you work upon. Within my own company, I tell people that in order for you to grow, first you have to be proactive. Any company suddenly won't give you a lot of work until they see that you are proactive and you want to learn and get better quickly. So you have to spend some time on your own to learn new software, learn new techniques and method, and then go and ask your supervisor that can I get this type of work, and have different variety of experience. Don't limit yourself to only work in architect projects only. Start experiencing in different projects, like start touching base on MEP side as well, start touching base a little bit on structure, on scan to BIM, and I feel like if you be proactive and learn by your own and reach out to your supervisor, they will be okay to give you other projects. You can request that I want to experience this as well, and your growth will start getting faster in that way, because you have multiple knowledge of different division within your company, and then your growth will start. But again, it takes time. I don't think you can rush into a BIM manager position without
Yeah.
having an experience, right? I feel like a BIM manager needs to have at least 5 to 8 years of experience to call a BIM manager. You can't be just a BIM manager within a year or two. Some company might
Yeah.
push you that if a company is a startup and they feel like they need that role to satisfy a project or a client need, they might push you and call you a BIM manager. But you have to have enough experience to get to that level where you understand different varieties of projects, you understand different techniques, and also you are able to now train other people. BIM manager role is also to start helping other people to train them and to get better in their career. So
Yeah.
I hope I I kind of gave an answer to you that which direction you would be going in.
Yeah. Many things are clear. So, like, it's like one have to spend at least 5 to 8 years in the industry to be on that position, right?
I feel so. I mean, it could be faster, like if your learning is fast and you're grasping it fast and you're going, it could be faster. But on an average, yes, I feel like that should be the point where you can call yourself as a manager.
Okay. Thank
Okay.
you so much. Yeah.
Thank you. Awesome. This is great. Thank you again for the question, Shika. Anybody else, please feel free to raise your hand. I feel like we got a couple great questions coming in and great insights. So feel free to raise your hand and ask your question, again, meanwhile, you guys are going through, I'll touch base a couple more points. Okay, we got, again from Pradanya, yeah, Pradanya, please go ahead.
Sorry for
No, go ahead.
interrupting. Yeah, I wanted to know, like, so with softwares, like especially with Revit, a lot of things keep changing very fast. Like you feel that gotten familiar with some kind of thing, and then the next version of the software changes quite a bit of things. So, when it comes to interviews, sometimes it's difficult to be confident if like you have sufficient knowledge about the software. So, how can we make sure that we are in step with the new knowledge that keeps coming up?
So like obviously BIM is like a technology driven department, so in order to keep yourself updated, you have to keep tracking on what's happening in the industry, in terms of technology and advancement. But software like Revit has been there for a long, and now that has become like a cornerstone of BIM itself, like so if you have like basic knowledge of Revit and you get better at it, I don't think there is a whole lot of changes that comes in. Every year Revit does issue a new version and there are some tweaks in the software, but they are so subtle that you don't feel that you have to learn everything from scratch. The software companies also understand this need, that the software needs to be user friendly and they cannot just go ahead and change everything. Otherwise, the user will get confused and might switch to some other software, right? So once you possess like your basic knowledge, your core of that software, then those add-ons or whatever feature updates just comes naturally. It doesn't need to be that. But yes, on the other hand, you have to be proactive about learning the trends in industry, what's happening in terms of advancement. Like current advancement right now within BIM is moving towards a lot on the AI side, on digital twin side. So you need to have basic knowledge about it, that what's happening in the industry. We do our weekly newsletter on our client page that provides a lot of great insights on what's happening. So you need to start reading such newsletter, such news, to keep yourself relevant on it, so that you feel more confident that okay, now which direction the AEC industries or technology is taking, that you at least needs to look at it. You don't have to really adopt everything, but you have to be aware about where the industry is moving, so that you can take your firm towards that direction, in long run, that okay, this is the path that I should be taking.
Great, thank you so much.
Awesome. This is great. We have a couple more minutes left. I think Piyush is raising hand. Let me allow Piyush to speak. One more last question and then we can drop off. Yes, Piyush.
All right. Yes, I have one question. See, I have given working interview just now. I won't say the company name, but I was given a working interview. So there were two departments, one for Revit and one for Civil 3D. So both had a BIM in it. So what I think with BIM in Revit is there are a lot of competitions, but in infrastructure BIM has been using a lot, like in water sector, in oil and gas. There the competition has been very less, like in Civil 3D, open doors. So what a BIM engineer needs to be? Like he needs to be professional in Revit or Civil 3D or Navis or open doors. I think that BIM, there are, I'm saying that there are a lot of opportunities in infrastructure,
Yes.
and people are very less who knows that
Definitely.
software like Civil 3D or open doors, Bentley and everything.
Yeah.
So why this shifting is happening? Like people were into buildings first, but now there are so many of people knowing the Revit. Now the water sector, oil and gas, the amount of money is more, and the
Definitely.
people there are a lot of less people who knows the Civil 3D and
Yes.
open roads, Bentley software. So being in the civil engineering guy, one needs to be getting updated in Revit also, Civil 3D. So
Yes.
that's a good thing. Like if I know Revit also and Civil 3D,
Yes.
so I can make career on both, or should I focus on one, like in infrastructure or in buildings? So
That's
what's
yeah, that's I mean that's great insight as well as a good question as well. I feel like you're right about it that infrastructure is also now getting into the side of BIM. They want to utilize this technology and use it for heavy civil projects. Like for bridges, for metro station, for railway station, for other underground utility projects. So you're right. AutoCAD Civil 3D is a great software. Which path you have to choose again depends on your interest as well. Like if you're a civil guy and you really enjoy the core construction side of it, you enjoy the heavy construction, the bridges and all that, then yes, Civil 3D is another software that you can learn. Revit also helps in that certain ways. There are other software that you can learn. But again, it all drives on your interest. Like once you reach to a point in your career that okay, you have spent 5 years in certain way, then you tends to move towards that direction. Nothing is good and bad or right or wrong here, because even building won't get stopped building. So even building projects will use this in heavy way. But again, you're right, on the heavy civil side, this is coming as well. So it all depends on your interest, which side you want to go. I feel like both have equal opportunities that you can get yourself into. So again, thank you for that question and the insight, Piyush. Perfect. So we are right on the time. Like I said, I wanted to keep this 30 minutes call at the beginning now, but I feel like we have good interest coming in. We have a lot of people jumping in and having interaction. So we might increase the duration of these calls. But for today, I would finish it right here at 9:30 p.m. in Eastern time. And again, thank you again, all of you, for joining this call. And I would appreciate that you spread this word and let's make this community even bigger. We want to start getting BIM again on mainstream and want to get it on that level that we all can share knowledge with each other. So thank you again and see you next Thursday. Thank you. All right, so that was our Thursday BIMly, our weekly BIM Q&A. And as you have heard, there were many great insight and a lot of questions, great questions that came out for career related, for industry trend related. And again, like I'm coming every Thursday at 9 p.m. Eastern, 9 p.m. Indian Standard Time, and would love to have you guys join at that time and have a great discussion about BIM under the umbrella of Beyond BIM, which is powered by Arcaline. So again, thank you for tuning in and see you next Thursday.